Will you walk me to school? The morning sun painted soft golden strokes across Maple Street, casting long shadows between the perfectly manicured lawns. At number 42, a black luxury sedan sat gleaming in the driveway, its chrome bumper reflecting the early light like a mirror. The house behind it stood tall and imposing, with clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows that revealed nothing of the life inside. Next door at number 44, a much smaller house seemed to lean slightly toward its wealthy neighbor, as if seeking warmth. The paint was fading in places, and the garden grew wild with dandelions that the homeowners association had long given up trying to control. But from the upstairs window, cheerful yellow curtains fluttered in the morning breeze, and the sound of a little girl's laughter drifted down to the street below. Emma Catherine Sullivan was 7 years old, with curly brown hair that refused to stay in place, and eyes that sparkled with the kind of curiosity that adults often found exhausting. This particular morning, she wore her favorite yellow raincoat over a pink dress, even though the sky showed no hint of clouds. Her small backpack bounced against her shoulders as she skipped down the front steps, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. She paused at the edge of her driveway, looking toward the house next door. Through the tall windows, she could see movement, a tall figure in a dark suit, moving with the precise efficiency of someone who had places to be and no time to waste. Alexander James Whitmore was 35 years old and worth more money than most people could count. His mornings followed the same rigid schedule every day. Coffee at 6:15, exactly 3 minutes to scan the financial headlines, and out the door by 6:30 to beat the traffic to his downtown office. He had built his empire on precision, on never wasting a moment, on keeping emotions locked away where they couldn't interfere with business. This morning started like every other. He adjusted his silver tie, picked up his leather briefcase, and headed for the door. But as he stepped outside, something unusual happened. A small voice called out from the neighboring driveway. "Excuse me, mister." Alexander paused, his hand already reaching for his car door handle. He turned to see the little girl from next door, standing at the property line, her yellow coat bright against the morning shadows. He had noticed her before, of course. It was hard not to notice the laughter that echoed from that house, so different from the silence of his own home. "Yes?" he said, his voice carrying the clipped tone he used in boardroom meetings. Emma took a small step forward, hugging her stuffed rabbit tighter. "My mom had to leave early for work today, and my babysitter isn't coming until after school." She paused, scuffing her shoe against the sidewalk. "I was wondering, would you walk me to school?" The question hung in the air between them like morning mist. Alexander stared at the child, his mind immediately calculating the disruption to his schedule. The elementary school was 6 blocks away. Walking there and back would take at least 20 minutes, maybe more at a child's pace. He had a conference call at 8:30 that could determine the fate of a $1 million merger. "I don't think that's appropriate," he said finally, his voice gentler than usual but still firm. "Surely there's someone else who could—" "There isn't," Emma interrupted, her voice small but steady. "Mrs. Peterson next door is visiting her daughter in the hospital, and Mr. Chen across the street already left for his job at the bakery." I asked. She looked up at him with those bright eyes, and Alexander felt something stir in his chest that he hadn't felt in years. "What about calling your mother?" he suggested, already knowing it was a weak solution. "She's at the hospital too. She's a nurse, and someone got really hurt last night. She can't leave." Emma's voice wavered slightly, but she lifted her chin with determination. "I can walk by myself. I know the way. I just thought it might be nice to have company." Alexander looked at this small, brave girl who was trying so hard to solve her own problem, and something inside him shifted. He thought about his own childhood, about walking to school alone while his parents focused on their careers, about the weight of independence that had been placed on his shoulders far too early. He glanced at his watch. 6:35. The conference call seemed less important suddenly, though he couldn't quite understand why. "All right," he heard himself saying, "but we need to walk quickly. I have obligations." Emma's face lit up like sunrise. "Really? Oh, thank you. I promise I'll keep up. I'm a really good walker." As they set off down Maple Street, Alexander found himself shortening his usual long strides to match Emma's smaller steps. She chattered beside him, pointing out flowers blooming in various gardens, waving to the mail carrier, and sharing observations about the world that he had stopped noticing years ago. See that blue house with the swing? Mrs. Adams lives there, and she makes the best chocolate chip cookies. Sometimes she gives me one when I walk by. Emma skipped over a crack in the sidewalk. And over there, that's where Tommy Lou lives. He's in my class, and he has a pet hamster named Captain Whiskers. Despite himself, Alexander found he was listening, really listening. When was the last time someone had shared their world with him so freely, without wanting something in return? As they approached the school, Emma suddenly stopped walking and looked up at him seriously. "Mr. Whitmore, can I ask you something? How do you know my name? I heard my mom talking about you. She said you're very successful but very lonely." Emma tilted her head. "Are you lonely?" The question caught Alexander off guard. In boardrooms and business deals, no one asked about loneliness. They asked about profit margins and market share and quarterly projections. But this 7-year-old girl had seen something that all his colleagues had missed. "Sometimes," he admitted quietly. Emma reached out and took his hand with surprising confidence. Her small fingers were warm against his palm. "I get lonely sometimes too. That's why I wanted someone to walk with me today." They stood there for a moment, the successful CEO and the little girl in the yellow coat, connected by something deeper than either of them fully understood. "Thank you for walking with me," Emma said as they reached the school gates. Maybe tomorrow we could walk together again? If you want to, I mean." Alexander looked down at her hopeful face and felt the last of his defenses crumble. "I think I'd like that very much." As Emma ran toward her friends, her yellow coat bright against the playground, Alexander realized that sometimes the most important meetings aren't scheduled in conference rooms. Sometimes they happen on sidewalks, with small hands reaching out to remind us what really matters. He walked home more slowly than usual, already looking forward to tomorrow morning.